Welcome back to another episode of Community Conversations. Today I am speaking with Board President of Head Start here in Morris County, Bob Grant. Bob Grant, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Andrea?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm very excited to learn more about Head Start. I know that you have been a part of Head Start for a number of years. How long have you been with Head Start?
I've been on the board of Head Start 17 or 18 years.
Wow.
Maybe even a couple more. It all kinds of, when you get to my age, everything kind of blends together. So time frames are difficult to establish.
All right, 17 to 18 years. Did you start as a board member? Did you?
Yes, I was invited on the board by the existing board, and I found that, I shortly began to realize that this was the one anti-poverty program left over from Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty that actually worked. And so, I've stuck with it. I took a year off, I think, just a 3 years ago, and then came back as a board member. The president at the time left for another position. He was county college executive vice president, and he left for another position with another school. So I was appointed interim president and then elected again by the board 4 years ago. So I think I've got plenty of experience with it. I think I understand it very well. And basically, to explain it, what we do is provide preschool education and family support to families with incomes at or below the poverty level. Now, it costs, according to a report I saw just a couple of days ago, it costs about $87,000 a year to live in Morris County. The poverty level for Morris County that is set by the feds is $26,700. So you can imagine trying to live in a county this expensive with an income that low. And poverty gets lost in Morris County. And what we have done is try and support families as well as the kids. The preschool education actually starts with pregnant women. We try and help them through the pregnancy. We try and, after they give birth, we try and provide, advice as to care and feeding and so forth. And then when the kids get to be about 2 years old, we ask if they want to be enrolled in the early Head Start program. And once they hit 3, we enroll them in the Head Start program. And it really should be called Even Start, because what Head Start does is get these children from very low income families on the same level playing field that their suburban counterparts are. And the results are pretty interesting and pretty amazing.
So I love Head Start. I learned about Head Start when I was in college, a couple moons ago, a little while ago, and it always seemed like such an amazing program. And you're right, the name is Head Start, but it really is like Even Start. You're right, because it does give children from low income homes the opportunity to kind of get that even keel. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And what we found is that they start these kids get produces positive results throughout the rest of their lives. You have to compare the Head Start kids with kids from the same economic strata who have not had the benefit of a high quality preschool education program. And what happens is that the kids that have this high quality preschool education perform at a significantly higher level in math, language, literacy, social conduct, physical development. They're much more likely to graduate from high school. They're far more likely to attend college. They are far less likely to be arrested for a crime. At-risk kids who do not participate in the quality early childhood program are 5 times more likely to be arrested repeatedly by the age of 27. They kids who do not participate in this kind of a program, the females are far more likely to be pregnant in their teen years. So, we think there are lifelong benefits to it. So, we try and, we've tried to expand the program, and over the last year and a half, we've gone from just under 200 enrollees, and this coming fall, we will be servicing about 309. And the story of how we got there, I think, is an interesting story, particularly in today's market of really divided political loyalties. And I'll tell that story if you want.
I do want to hear that story, but so from 200 to 309, you'll have that enrollment in the fall, in this coming fall. How did you guys kind of weather the pandemic? I'm curious about that, because obviously all your classes and courses are usually done in person.
Right.
That's where you want to be for especially early education. So what type of, how did you combat the loss of in-person training here or education through the pandemic?
Well, we were able to maintain an in-person training for some of the kids.
Okay.
But it was at, we had to make sure they were separated, the social distancing applied. We had to make sure that getting little kids to wear masks, we thought was going to be pretty difficult. But as it turns out, it's a lot more difficult to get adults in Arkansas to wear a mask than it is to get kids in New Jersey. We've got just a very high quality staff. Our executive director, Susan O'Donnell, put the whole thing together. Amy, our education manager, and Juan Fernandez, our facilities director. We just have, excellent people. Budget juggling was done by Rebecca, who probably bit off more than she thought she was getting involved in when she took this job. But everybody, it was a complete team effort, and it just seemed to click, but it didn't click by accident. I mean, Sue O'Donnell put in a lot of long hours. She designed the overall response to the pandemic. We tried to support the families through food and access to medical care and that type of stuff. So it was difficult. There's no question about it. But I'm hoping we don't get a spike that's going to shut things down again. Right. But that, you prepare for the worst and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you were able to still reach out to all the families and kind of keep them moving along through the pandemic, because it is hard. It's a hard to serve population. It's a hard to reach population. So, but I do want to go back to your story. I know you. we moved over to the pandemic, and I think it does consume everything now, and we are concerned about what that's going to look like for next year's enrollment. But let me know. Tell me what type of programming. So you offer educational programming for the children. Right. You have parenting courses, I'm assuming, for the adults.
Yeah, we have parenting courses. We even set up a fatherhood program several years ago. And I've got to put this in a delicate fashion. Getting fathers to participate has been difficult at times. So we set up a fatherhood program, and basically the idea was it's a very masculine thing to take care of your kids. And we've been successful. In fact, the first speaker that I brought in to talk to these fathers, we had about 40, 45 guys in the room. And I brought in a fellow by the name of Roman Oben, who played offensive tackle for the New York Giants and the Tampa Bay Bucks when the Bucks won their Super Bowl. 6'8", 310 pounds playing weight. He's down to about 280 right now. And it was a very positive response to his talk. So, you know, we've got people that go into homes, coach mothers, coach fathers, you know, give them pointers on how to deal with their kids. One of the things we did notice was during the pandemic, which was not a positive, was that the kids who were on all virtual participation did not do as well in the outcome testing as the kids who had been in, you know, there in person. So, you know, and I can't imagine that doesn't hold true all up and down the school years, you know, right from, you know, first grade on through high school, you know.
It has been a difficult year. My children personally were home virtually, and it depends on the child, yes, because everybody's different. But you can, if they were in school, it would have been a different story. It would have been a different story. Right. But, you know, you do the best you can and you keep going. And again, individually, some children did well, some children were not going to do well virtually. And, and especially at such a young age, because you serve, would they start at 3 for the most part?
Well, yeah, for the Head Start program, early Head Start starts earlier, obviously. So, you know, and it's kind of a prep for Head Start. And we begin to talk to the kids about colors, about, you know, matching blocks, about, you know, putting little puzzles together and that type of thing. So, you know, and what Head Start does, in addition to the other benefits, is teach these children the schooling process, what they're going to have to do and how they're going to have to behave when they go into the public school system. So, you know, and it all works out. They teachers at a lot of our kids go into Dover and Morristown school system. And the teachers at those public school districts tell us that it's they can't tell the difference between a Head Start kid and one of their other enrollees, you know, after a couple of years, and even initially going in, you know, so they're right up to snuff in terms of the ability to cope with the educational process in the public schools. So that's our objective, and you know, I think we do it pretty well.
So as a nonprofit, right? You're considered a nonprofit organization?
Well, we've got part of our funding is nonprofit. Part of our funding is federal.
Right.
So, and we have to apply for the federal grant for both early Head Start and federal start. So it's a, you know, this year it was a competitive thing, which we weren't happy about, in the sense that requires a lot of extra work. You know, you've written grants, you know what goes into them. Yeah. But, you know, we were successful in that, and, you know, hope to be, you know, continually successful in the funding aspect. We're, I think we are budgeting somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.5 million next year. So it's a pretty good sized operation. We have 74 employees, you know, in education, in social services, in facilities, office management, etc. And it's all run by our executive director, Sue O'Donnell. As I said, she does a crackerjack job. She's just really.
So would you say the funding is the biggest issue for your organization, or there are other issues, underlying issues that funding affects?
The funding is always an issue, and coupled with that is the fact that we don't overburden our teachers and teachers' aides with money. So we have, you know, And we're in competition apparently with the public school system, whose compensation structure is stronger than ours. But the folks who we have had in the operation for years tend to be very dedicated and very much, they very much understand the necessity for this. If we're going to, make a big dent in poverty, we've got to do it this way. Education is the key to it. And what I found very encouraging was President Biden's commentary about early childhood education. So I've talked to Mikey Sherrill and her staff about expanding Head Start to reach another million kids. To give an example how extensive the program is, in New Jersey alone, we have about 18,000 enrollees in various Head Start programs. So, it was particularly apropos, as far as I was concerned, that Biden emphasized education as a key to breaking the poverty cycle. And to me, it's just obvious. But I think he's going to have to do a lot of arm twisting and pushing to get that through.
I agree, though. Education is the foundation of everything.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If we use that education, even especially with civic education, understanding what the government is and how it can assist and where the money goes, I think we would be, much better off. It always comes back to education. And it's so great to see programs that are pulling at such a young age, because it is quite impossible to live in New Jersey and pay for your childcare, let alone preschool, because it's not even mandatory in some of these places. Preschool, PreK, PreK 3. When I moved from New York to New Jersey a couple years ago. My kids were little, and we moved right after they had introduced PreK 3. Oh, that would have saved us so much money if we had just stayed in here. And then they didn't even offer it here in New Jersey. There's only half-day pre-K, and then kindergarten in some places, in some municipalities, is not mandatory. And that to me is surprising.
Yeah, I think and I've seen it personally. When my son was 3 or 4 years old, we enrolled him in a pre-K program here in Denville, and when he wasn't fooling around, he was thriving. He's now
success now. So
yeah, he's now doing cancer research at the NIH and cancer surgery. So he's fine.
You could say, he wasn't fooling around that much.
Right. But let me tell you the story of how we got an additional 90 places for Head Start kids, right? And one of the things that we need to understand about poverty, particularly in this county, Morris County always ranks as in the top 10 wealthiest counties, not just in the state, in the country.
Right.
Very, very well-to-do county. Poverty gets lost in this county. Now, I mentioned before, we're going to serve about 309 children in the coming year. We've done the analysis through census tracts and other kinds of records that indicate that there's still 14 to 16 to 1,800 children that are eligible for a Head Start, but we just don't have the room and we don't have the money. Mm-hmm. So, and it doesn't seem that we're the only Head Start program in the county. I think there's 17 in New Jersey. And so one day during the League of Municipalities conference in Atlantic City, I walked into a gathering and spotted the county administrator, John Bonanni. And John and I have known each other for years. And, you know, he looked at me, we exchanged greetings and so forth. And he and I were just kibitzing, you know, nothing serious, nothing. And I just had this idea. I said, John, why don't you, meaning the Board of Freeholders, use your bonding power and give us enough money to build a bunch of classrooms over at your nonprofit center. And that apparently solved a problem for them in that they wanted to expand the use of the nonprofit center. So about a year later, maybe a year and a half, the Board of Freeholders granted us what amounted to a construction loan of $1.8 million. So, you know, that's, you know, and you know, the political aspects of this, you know, and what it showed me is that if you present something correctly and point out all the benefits, the politics tend to minimize. So that, you know, we got this done, and it because of the pandemic, it took longer, much longer than expected, but we got it done, we got it built, we've got a CO. So hopefully we're going to have a pretty good sized celebration in the fall when we, you know, everything gets back to full capacity. In addition to that, we just got word that the New York Jets Foundation are going to build us a playground over there. Okay. So that's the second playground that the Jets Foundation has funded. So, you know, that's about a $75,000, $80,000 contribution to the program. And
can they double it and make it a splash yard?
Beg your pardon?
Splash yard.
Oh yeah.
With a water feature. That's what
I don't. That may be fine during July and August, but I think in February and March it'll be a little iffy.
Yeah, it would be. That's great though. But I think that goes to say that if you are prepared, if you plan, and you can connect the right people, and you just ask, a lot of this stuff, a lot of this nonprofit work is just about saying the right thing to the right people. You know, the money is out there. I feel like the money is always out there. The funding is there. There are a lot of organizations that want to help. Look at the Jets, look at the freeholders, even the county money, the state money. The money is there. We just need to have the plan in place to make sure that, you know, we can execute these things.
Right.
I love that. 1.8 million for a new, you know, for new classrooms, for a new facility, really for all your new students. Yeah, that's incredibly important. That's 109 more kids than you've served last year. And it's, you know, whether it's 100 or more families, you know, everybody kind of benefits from it. The community benefits from that immensely. So
right. Well, the families benefit from this too, because particularly in this economic climate, the children have a safe place to be during the day. And that's always a concern of parents. So, you know, the kids are fine, the parents are able to do their thing, and we're trying to get them, you know, prepared to enter into the public school system.
Well, that's true with the pandemic as well, because essential workers had nowhere for their children to go. When schools were fully virtual, when, you know, and a lot of kids were staying home alone. And not only were they staying home alone, they weren't eating because they had no one to cook for them, or they were eating, you know, they're going to eat whatever they're going to find. And so, yeah, having a place for children, having a way for essential workers to find a safe place for their children, you know, it really does benefit us all. You know, we don't need, you know, well, if everybody cared as much as they say they care, then they'd want essential workers to have a place for their children, and essential workers to be able to make a living in a county,
right.
Any county.
And I think what happens as these children grow up, the Head Start was formed in 1965. So I think before you were born. So it's it's a you know, I witnessed that that program's development under Lyndon Johnson. But every once in a while, we have a volunteer luncheon and bring back, you know, some of the kids that have gone through, and they're now in their, you know, what we like to do is to find someone who has had a positive career path. And we had a speaker, a young woman who had just gotten her degree from Stevens Institute of Technology. She was an engineer, and she was off to build bridges and skyscrapers and things like that. So, you know, it's not, you know, it's not that we're just preparing people for entry-level jobs. It's we're opening up a huge range of opportunities, which, you know, for both young men and young women to, you know, hopefully help them along.
Yeah. No, that's great. So what is your, do you have any events coming up that you want to plug here? I know you mentioned you might be having some.
No, we haven't scheduled, you know, everything is still up. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with children this age, you've got a half a dozen agencies that want to participate in supervision. So we've got the Head Start regional office, we've got the Head Start Washington office, we've got the New Jersey Division of Child Services, we've got you know, the families organizations both at the federal and state level. We collaborate with 3 different school districts, and you know, at some point it kind of feels like we're jugglers. But fortunately, as the president of the board, I can just turn to our executive director and say, "How you doing, Sue?" You know, so yeah, I don't actually have to, you know, I try and participate as much as I can, but I also don't want to interfere with the professionals. You know, these are people who know their business, they know it very well, and you know, just need some help as far as introduction to various people in the political and bureaucratic world. So, you know, we do that, and it seems to work. And I'll just, you know, there have been various criticisms over the years, but I don't see how there can be objections to a program that produces tax-paying citizens, reduces welfare rolls and prison populations, stabilizes families, and breaks the generational poverty cycle. That's money well spent as far as I'm concerned.
So in your opinion, and I agree, I completely agree. In your opinion, what is the greatest need of your organization? What do they need?
Well,
how can regular just keep, how can members help and get involved?
A lot of it just comes down to money. You know, if we had 1/10 or 1/20 of the defense budget, we could solve the
you wouldn't need, you would, yeah, 0.01% of the defense budget.
Yeah, I mean, it's
3 times as much as you already have now. Or
you know, in the federal budget, the National Head Start program does not eat up a lot of money. Right. And you know, my contention is that it pays it back. You know, you know, it's expensive to put people in jail. It's expensive.
Education is always a good investment.
Right.
You always want to have more knowledge than you did.
Right.
So, so I will absolutely help with that. I can put in your donation information. We're going to do that at the end of this video, and we're going to do it on some graphics that we can send out to some people, because it's important to fundraise. It's important to, I feel like it's most important to donate to organizations that are local to you, because when you do that, you know, if you're from this area, you are fully funding what's happening in your own community. I love to give back in that way. So we will provide some information at the end of this video. Bob, do you have any closing words? Do you have any closing remarks for the people out there?
No, but can you I want to show you a picture.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you want me to share? Do you want to share a screen?
Yeah, give me a share
Yeah.
screen.
I will let you share your screen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We had Congressman Tom Malinowski, who Dover is our central headquarters, even though it's a county program, so we deal with both the 7th and the 11th Congressional District. And Congressman Malinowski came to visit us, and he decided that he liked these children and wanted to participate. So there's the congressman talking to one of his
Constituents.
people who one of the young men that's inquiring as to what he does. Our education manager, the same day that Tom was there, our educational manager got the kids to pretend that they were doing TV interviews with him. And a young man named Philip had the microphone, and they were asking the congressman, what do you do? Where do you live? Just kind of questions little kids ask. And so Philip kind of ran out of steam, and he looked behind him to another little boy who was standing there. And the other little boy looked at the congressman and said, "Do you kiss your girlfriend?"
Very important question.
Yeah, and to his credit, the congressman looked at the young man and said, "Why, yes, I do." So anyway, that's I could go on for a long time about Head Start. So
no, and it's great. Thank you for 17 or 18 years of your service. That's a long time. That's an amazing accomplishment to be with an organization for that long. And to see it improve so much over the years too, especially with this new facility, especially with the record enrollment that you're having, come September. But Bob, thank you so much for taking the time today. I'm going to post some stuff at the end of this video and then throughout social media so that people can learn more about Head Start and that they can donate. And if you do have any events coming up, let me know and we'll be sharing it on bettertogethercommunity.org. Okay.
Very good. Andrea, thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
Okay.
You did very well. Thank you.
Oh, good.